How about you? How about I ask you a question and you ask me a question?
Alright.
So, who you voting for?
I'm voting for Obama.
I don't think they can hear you.
We're voting for Obama.
Uh, why?
That's a nigga.
Okay. So I think that we should use income through plastic, like credit cards, but it should not have to be assigned by another person. It should be something we wrote, like a poem, a story, lyrics, something of that nature that came out from our creative and artistic side. And that way we can use that form of income, which we did ourselves, which we made ourselves, and give it to like the Apple Store where we can get a computer, like one of everything from the store, and we give them that, and then they take that and they give it to someone else, and they get one of everything from that store, and then we use that as a source of income. Because if you look at paper in the dollar bill and the $20 bill and all the money that we use in America, these are faces of presidents that weren't even vegetarian. And if we look at the Holocaust, well, the Germans and Adolf Hitler supposedly were doing that to the Jews, and but we're doing that to animals. So like, how can we be against that? And it's right to be against it because that was wrong what happened to the Jews. And but look at we're doing that to animals, and that's not right.
Well, I think it all comes down to, first of all, I'd like to say I like your ideas, albeit they might be a bit highfalutin and too idealistic in the utopian way. I don't know if there's a sustainable amount of hope for that kind of point of view, but I think what it all comes down to is food and other resources necessary to achieve that goal of sustaining yourself nutritionally, and it all comes down to religion, sex, and violence, and food. Those are inescapable realities of the human psyche, and those are integral to our humanity in a way, evil as it may be at times, most of the time. But yeah, I think we as humans like to separate ourselves from the animals and think of ourselves as more a product of intelligent design, and that we have this chasm between us and animals, and we don't want to recognize that they have feelings and even thoughts as we do. But as Jane Goodall, the scientist from Stanford, proved in her years with Coco the gorilla, animals do indeed have feelings, and that is something that's becoming more and more recognized in the scientific community today.
I just like to applaud you, Mr. Eric, for that realization over animals and their feelings, and I feel that as though, as you said, people like to chasm themselves away from animals and feel like they're a form of intelligence over them. And then, as you said, that animals do indeed have feelings. I think they also have intelligence. And also, I feel that if a plankton could, you know how there's some animals that adapt to their environment in order to survive, but there's also other animals and other creatures that can affect their environment so that they can survive in that atmosphere. If plankton could create clouds from the water that reflects the sun and therefore cools the earth, then there's no telling that cows and chickens and all these things that are consumed in America and in other countries, that they don't have a purpose for this atmosphere in this world that does something great for the earth. So I think by taking these resources, if we look at all these resources we've already consumed as a nation and as a world, And we look at the Arctic, how there's 25% of the 100% that used to be there. There's only 25% of the Arctic that used to be there. And I think this was of relevant years. There's only 25% of the Arctic, and there used to be 75% more of the Arctic that used to be there. And if you look at how the plankton could affect their environment in such a way, maybe by consuming these other animals, we're affecting our environment in such a way that it's destroying our world, and we're destroying ourselves. And I heard someone else say that it's in our nature to destroy ourselves. But this should not be our nature, because if aliens are so advanced in their technology, then I'm sure they figured out. And if they haven't figured out, maybe that's why they come to our planet, because they destroyed their world already. Or maybe their world's in fine keeping, that they figured out that we cannot be doing this genocide to other things and other people, just like we learned from Hitler and the Germans, that we should not use genocide as an answer to affect the race or affect the species. It's not right. So I think when we learn that, our world could prosper.
I think what you're saying is definitely true, but I'd just like to point out that once again, it is food, and it is our human mortality, that the fact that we're going to die, and the different philosophies that I feel sort of stem from that, such as existentialism, where we're alive, and it's kind of the human, what is called the human condition, and the fact that we're gonna die just makes life finite. So you can either see it as being there's a God, and hopefully there's an afterlife, and you're supposed to denounce the things of this world and denounce everything secular and live more of a spiritual life, and live for the next life. Or if you have a different kind of philosophy, that's perhaps more reality based. You live for the moment, and when people live for the moment, they want to get everything they can out of life, and it all comes down to resources. So that creates violence, and animals provide a large source of food, and it's an easy way for us to survive by more or less taking advantage of them as a food source.
Do you think that if we were to choose a higher quality of food source and a more wise quality of food source, we are more wizened in our choices of what we consumed, then we may in fact live longer, live healthier lives, and not only that, have a healthier world in our hands right now?
Yes, I definitely believe that, but once again, it's going to be tough to convince people to make that switch, because it's not easy, and it's not rewarding. Eating vegetables is not as rewarding to the palate as eating.
You mean to the appetite, to the taste buds?
Yes.
Well, that's because they were raised. Since they were little, parents have been making the same mistake after generation of feeding their child an animal source. Therefore, they're clinging on to this appetite and this way of life that is detrimental not only to themselves but to our environment and to the other species, recognized by the intellectual perverseness of our words.
Right. I believe it is all very satanic. This is a satanic race of people in this modern day, and that's all we have time for this episode.
Well, I don't know, man, because I think that the whole satanic thing...
Please, AJ, I need to take a break.
Well, let me just say something before we take a break.
Okay.
Satan could actually be some type of creature, some type of angel, some type of demon that would actually, like, have more care for animals than the humans are having on for them right now.
Yes,
so I can't really call it satanic or godly or Allah-ly.
Sometimes it does seem like Satan cares more about us, cares how we actually feel, cares about our quality of life, and it does seem like God really wants us just more to serve Him and to worship Him. But I think that...
Do you think that Satan cares for animals?
No,
Why not?
because I think it's he likes to see any type of violence, suffering, death, destruction.
But that's just what the people are saying. I think that the people saying this about Satan, but like it's really something else. I think maybe how could we know what Satan's like? Like I don't know. I have some troubles with the Bible. But if there is something, I think that it's just a lack of understanding that people consume these animals and that they're not respecting the animals' lives in that certain species. And I think as this world evolves, if it gets a chance to evolve and if it doesn't destroy itself, as is the climate and atmosphere and global warming and everything that's involved in our Earth today, how it might collapse, and the Mayans predicting that the world would end in 2012 by fire. I think if this world gets a chance to evolve, and these people in the world, and maybe if we get assistance from some extraterrestrial peaceful minds, we could actually prosper in this world, and then also this world could evolve, and we can evolve as creatures where we don't have to eat any chickens, any cows, any form of animal with eyes, and we can have vegetarian diets. But even if like I keep having these visions that like the plants and the trees are people. So like if our scientists or if an alien could come or if some kind of godsend or some kind of like satanic revolution or some type of paradise, some type of a law miracle or some type of Jesus theory comes about, and we could like have a form of water that sustains us through life and helps us be healthy. We won't even have to eat vegetation. We could just drink this very pure water that we should have a very pure water that could probably do that already if we hadn't polluted the waters in the ocean with all of these plastics and oil and other harmful chemicals that were brought into the air and then rained down onto water by. We might actually have a water that can sustain us, and there might be an alien world out there with a water that can sustain us where we don't have to eat anything and our teeth could be meant for talking.